Most people think they already know Matthew McConaughey, the smooth talker, the easy smile, the Hollywood name that seems permanently at home on a red carpet. But the real story isn't in Los Angeles. It's far out in Texas, on a 1,600-acre ranch where the noise fades and life slows into something honest. Out here, the land stretches wider than any film set. The mornings feel cleaner, and McConaughey trades bright lights for open sky and quiet space. This is the side of him he rarely puts on display. Steady, grounded, completely at ease. To understand why he chose this place, let us show you how he rose above his past and built the life he has today. Matthew McConaughey's was born on November 4, 1969, in Uvalde, Texas, raised by a mother who taught kindergarten and a father who worked the oil fields. Their home was loud, imperfect, and full of second chances. His parents divorced twice and married 3 times. And in the middle of all that chaos, Matthew learned early that love could be messy and still real, that family could be complicated and still solid. As a teen, he spent a year in Australia on an exchange program, a time that humbled him and pushed him to figure out who he was. When he returned to Texas, he studied film at the University of Texas, planning to become a lawyer. But slowly, acting began pulling him in a different direction. He started small, commercials, short appearances, anything that kept him working. Then Dazed and Confused arrived in 1993. It wasn't a big role, but it was enough to show the world he had something special. One improvised line, "All right, all right, all right," made him unforgettable overnight. More supporting roles followed, but his real turning point came in 1996 with A Time to Kill. It proved he could carry a major film and open the door to Hollywood's front row. Through the late 90s, he pushed himself with roles in Contact, Amistad, and EDTV, steadily building range and confidence. Then came the 2000s, the era that made him a household name. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, The Wedding Planner, Failure to Launch, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. These films turned him into the face of romantic comedies, box office gold with a smile everyone recognized. But after a few years, Matthew realized those roles didn't challenge him anymore. So he quietly stepped back from Hollywood to wait for something that felt real. That pause changed everything. His return began with Magic Mike and Bernie, but it was Dallas Buyers Club that completely reset his career. He transformed himself for the role, physically, emotionally, and the performance earned him a wave of awards, including an Oscar. From there, the momentum didn't slow. True Detective showed his depth, Interstellar showed his heart, and The Wolf of Wall Street reminded people how naturally he fit into any world he stepped into. The years that followed brought a mix of projects, some hits, some misses, but each choice felt honest. Whether he played the troubled father in White Boy Rick or the free-spirited drifter in The Beach Bum, he picked roles that matched where he was in life, not what Hollywood expected from him. Off-screen, Matthew built a different kind of legacy. His Just Keep Livin' Foundation supports young people with health and wellness programs, and during Hurricane Katrina, he personally helped rescue stranded animals. Small actions that showed how grounded he remained despite fame. His journey stays with you because it feels sincere. A man who grew through his past roles, rebuilt his career, and carried a steady heart through every stage. After all those chapters, he finally found a place that matches his own rhythm. A Texas ranch where Matthew finds his peace. Soft light, wide open land brings him back to himself. Ranch in Texas. Out on his ranch in Texas, Matthew McConaughey lives far from anything flashy. Mile after mile of open countryside, 1,600 acres of quiet that swallow the last trace of Hollywood noise. Here in Irene County, the days slow down, the skies feel bigger, and life moves at a different pace. Matthew bought the ranch in 2001 for about $500,000, long before fame, awards, and red carpets. When he and Camila moved here full-time in 2014, it wasn't for convenience. It was for peace, a place where kids can run free, mornings are quiet, and a man who's experienced the world can finally come home to something simple, stable, and real. The main house feels exactly like what Matthew came here to find. You walk in and everything opens up. High ceilings, warm timber walls, and a long stretch of polished concrete that makes the whole place feel honest and wide awake. The front doors are heavy wrought iron, the kind you'd expect on an old Texas lodge. Inside, every room mixes rustic soul with quiet comfort. Big chandeliers, thick wood beams, and a layout made for people to sit down, talk, and stay a little longer. The great room is where the house really breathes. It sits under a tall metal roof, centered around a stone fireplace that burns steady on cool nights. Leather chairs, long couches, cowhide rugs, nothing fancy, nothing staged, just lived-in comfort. This is where the family plays games, where friends drift between the shuffleboard table and the pool table, and where evenings naturally slow down after hours spent outside. The kitchen keeps the country feel, but adds a bit of polish. Granite counters sit on soft white cabinets, and a big center island anchors the whole space. There's a small prep area tucked behind a barn door, part wine nook, part bar, and outside, a full outdoor kitchen stretches under the porch roof. A long grill, stone fireplace, open air, and a clear view of the hills. Most dinners end up out here anyway. Upstairs, the primary suite feels almost like a lookout. A wall of windows wraps the room in green. Tall oaks, quiet pasture, and sky for miles. The carved wooden bed, the warm lights, the small sitting corner, everything feels calm. The bathroom beside it adds a softer touch. Gold-rimmed mirrors, double sinks, and a copper soaking tub placed right against the window. Bath time here feels more like slowing down than getting clean. Across the hall, the walk-in closet opens straight toward the land like a painting. Clean white shelves, plenty of space, and morning light pouring in. Downstairs, the guest rooms stay simple and warm. Soft colors, natural light, enough space to sleep well without trying too hard. But the ranch is more than just the house. It stretches into barns, sheds, and quiet workspaces. The horse barn stands close by, lined with metal siding and wood stalls, clean, organized, and built for long days with animals. Not far from it, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath guest house sits on its own little patch of land. It's cozy, bright, and fits the country life perfectly. Beyond the house, the ranch opens into simple working spaces, storage sheds, equipment barns, and wide open areas built for the everyday rhythm of country life. And then there's the land itself. Long fields, quiet patches of woods, and the stillness that settles over everything. It's the kind of Texas Matthew grew up with. Calm, open, and waiting for him every morning. All the miles he's traveled, all the roles he's played, they fade the moment he steps onto this land. Here, he's just Matthew again, surrounded by space, family, and the peace he's spent years searching for. And when life calls for a different kind of quiet, Matthew and his family head east to their Lake Austin home, a place where the land meets the water, where days run smoother, and where another version of peace waits for them. Mansion in Lake Austin. Matthew McConaughey's Lake Austin estate sits quietly along the water, tucked into a stretch of shoreline where the breeze stays soft and the light moves slowly across the day. From the outside, the home carries the warm, familiar look of Spanish Mediterranean architecture. Creamy stucco, terracotta accents, arched lines, and long balconies that face the lake. It blends into the landscape in a way that feels natural, almost inevitable, like it has always belonged here. Step inside, and the house opens with a gentle calm. Light drifts in through wide windows, warming the maple-toned floors and giving the main level a sense of ease from one room to the next. The living area doesn't try to impress. It simply feels lived in. Clean textures, soft colors, and tall glass doors frame the water as if it were part of the room. It's a space made for slow afternoons after long filming days. The kind of room where Matthew can settle with a book, watch the lake shift, or enjoy quiet moments with his family. The kitchen brings a quieter kind of comfort. Bright, uncluttered, and built for real daily life. The space centers around a long stone island that catches the morning light. Wooden cabinets add warmth, and the whole room stays open enough for kids to wander in, for coffee to brew, for music to hum low in the background. It's not staged luxury. It's a working kitchen that breathes with the pace of the house. Upstairs, the home becomes more private. The primary suite leans into rest with soft neutrals, high ceilings, and doors opening to a balcony that overlooks the water. The light moves gently here, giving the room a quiet, retreat-like energy. The bathroom beside it follows the same calm. Warm stone, clean lines, and a soaking tub angled toward the trees outside. A small office sits nearby, a tucked-away corner where Matthew can focus, write, or reset before stepping back into the world. The scale of the property becomes even clearer outside. The estate spreads across more than 900 square meters, complete with 7 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a separate guest house, and a 4-car garage set neatly to the side. Down by the lake, 7 private boat docks line the water, along with a lift that makes slipping onto the lake effortless. It's a rare setup, built for movement and open days, sunrise walks, long hours on the water, or evenings spent watching the lake settle into dusk. Every part of the home feels touched by ease. Nothing is loud or overstated. The renovations keep the spirit of the home intact, refreshing what needed to be updated but never losing the warmth that defines it. What lingers is the quiet balance. Every room, every bit of light, every view of the water feels made for real life. It's a place where Matthew can exhale, find his rhythm again, and stay grounded. Stepping away from the calm of Lake Austin, the next part of his lifestyle comes into focus. The cars he chooses, and the stories they tell about the way he moves through the world. Car collection. First is the Cadillac Escalade, the vehicle that fits Matthew the best. Valued around $85,000, it's the one he reaches for on slow mornings. Soft t-shirt, coffee in hand, kids piling into the back. The big seats, the quiet cabin, the easy height off the ground. It lets him move through Texas or LA without thinking about anything but the road. No rush, no attention, just space to breathe. Next comes the Chevrolet Camaro Z28, the black classic he keeps for days when he wants a little grit back in his life. Worth roughly $45,000 depending on condition, it's the one he pulls out after a workout, or on warm evenings when he wants to feel the pavement under him again. It rumbles, it shakes a little, and it reminds him of simpler years. Windows down, radio low, nothing fancy. Then there's the 2025 Lincoln Aviator, the polished SUV tied closely to his brand work. Priced around $75,000, it carries a 3.0-liter twin-turbo V6 with 400 horsepower. Smooth enough for city driving and strong enough for long Texas roads. Inside, the cabin stays calm. Soft leather seats, a wide touchscreen, and noise control that makes the whole space feel steady. This is the car that blends Hollywood professionalism with the slower rhythm he keeps out on his Texas land. Rounding out the lineup is the Lincoln Navigator, valued around $95,000. Inside, it feels more like a rolling living room than an SUV. The seats are wide and soft, the cabin is quiet, and the warm lighting makes everything feel calm, even on busy days. There's space everywhere. Deep cup holders, big armrests, and a roomy third row where the kids can stretch out. When he's behind the wheel, he isn't the movie star the world sees. He's just dad, taking his family where they need to go, steady and unhurried. Together, these cars paint a clear picture of the man he is now. Part movie star, part Texas local, and fully a family man who chooses comfort, calm and simplicity over anything loud. And while his garage shows the rhythm of his everyday life, his success goes far beyond the driveway. Matthew's earnings, built over decades, tell an even clearer story of how far he's come. Income and net worth. His $160 million fortune comes from patience more than luck. McConaughey took risks when it mattered, walked away when things felt empty, and returned to the screen with the kind of work that reshaped his path. His early paychecks were modest, just $48,500 for Angels in the outfield back in 1994. Things changed once Hollywood realized how naturally he carried a scene. By the early 2000s, he became one of the highest-paid names in romantic comedies, earning major salaries through films like The Wedding Planner, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and Failure to Launch. Then came the pivot that defined everything. During his reset, he famously turned down $15 million for a Magnum PI reboot, plus back-end profits worth tens of millions, because Lane that no longer fit him. Instead, he accepted under $200,000 for Dallas Buyers Club, a role that led him straight to an Oscar and reopened the entire industry for him. From there, the numbers grew with him. He earned $14.5 million for Sahara, $18 million for Interstellar, and $20 million for The Gentleman. At his peak, he could command $20 million per film with ease, standing firmly among Hollywood's top earners. His box office impact kept rising too, with Interstellar crossing $677 million worldwide, The Wolf of Wall Street hitting $392 million, Sing passing $634 million, and The Dark Tower bringing in more than $113 million. At that point, studios treated him less like a hire and more like a cornerstone they could depend on. Off-screen, the financial story stays just as strong. Matthew brings in over $10 million a year through endorsements alone. Salesforce pays him $10 million annually for creative advising and commercial work, while long-running partnerships like Lincoln add steady weight to his income. His name became its own brand, strong enough to carry entire campaigns. Real estate has also been a steady part of his portfolio. In 2007, he bought a Malibu Point Doom home for $10 million and later sold it in 2020 for $15 million. He still keeps several Airstream trailers in an upscale Malibu park, a nod to his easygoing nature, and he continues to own a 10,000-square-foot mansion in Austin, the place that keeps him closest to his roots. In 2021, he added a $7.85 million Hawaiian retreat at the Ka'upulehu residence, another quiet space that fits his rhythm. In the end, Matthew's wealth reflects the way he's lived, steady, intentional, and true to himself. The numbers are large, but the path was simple. Choose carefully, stay patient, trust the long road. His fortune didn't change him. It just gave him the freedom to keep moving on his own terms. Fame and fortune are one thing, but the way he uses them to support others quietly and consistently reveals a different truth about who he is. Philanthropy. The Just Keep Livin' Foundation is where Matthew McConaughey's impact begins. He and Camila built it to support high school students with health, wellness, and life skills programs. When Texas was hit by the 2021 winter storm, the foundation partnered with Reliant Energy, directing $1 million toward families who lost heat, power, and basic necessities. It was quiet work, but it reached thousands, and it set the tone for the way he chooses to help. From there, his giving widened in ways that touched even more lives. Through the Mac, Jack, and McConaughey fundraiser in Austin, Matthew helped raise over $17 million in 2025 alone. Since its earliest days, the event has generated more than $61 million for children's charities, hospitals, youth programs, and schools across the country. It's one of the clearest examples of how he uses his influence, not loudly, but with purpose. When his hometown needed him, he was there. After the Uvalde tragedy, Matthew and Camila returned to support families and stand with the community. They contributed to scholarship funds, local support efforts, and charity auctions that raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for counseling, memorial projects, and long-term care for those affected. It wasn't Hollywood work. It was personal. His compassion doesn't end with people. After Hurricane Katrina, Matthew joined rescue teams himself, pulling stranded pets from flooded neighborhoods. Later, he donated over $85,000 to shelters to help rebuild kennels, pay for medical treatment, and reunite families with their animals. It was another moment that showed who he is when no cameras are around. Over the years, he has invested $500,000 into youth sports and after-school wellness programs in Texas and California, giving teenagers safe environments, steady routines, and mentors who help them build confidence. In his eyes, these programs aren't just charity. They're a lifeline, the same kind of guidance that once shaped him. Taken together, these moments tell you more about Matthew than any award could. His kindness moves slowly, steadily, and without any need for attention. That's the real measure of the impact he's made along the way. All of this leads you toward a clearer picture of who he is when the cameras are gone. A man who values calm mornings, family time, and a life lived with intention. Personal life. These days, Matthew McConaughey lives in a way that feels calm, steady, and honest. When he's home, he reads a lot, writes when he feels something worth putting on paper, and still steps into interviews or book signings with that same warm, unhurried charm he's known for. Nothing about his routine feels like Hollywood. It feels like a man who's learned what actually matters. His family anchors everything. On school breaks or long weekends, he and Camila pack up the kids and take off together, sometimes to beaches, sometimes to new cities, sometimes to nowhere in particular. Their trips aren't flashy. They're about time, connection, and letting the kids see more of the world. Back on the ranch, life shifts into an even gentler rhythm. He fishes at the river when he needs to clear his head, checks on the horses when he wants to stay grounded, and spends long afternoons with friends he's known for years, laughing, talking, or just sitting around the fire the way people do out here. Even with the calmer life, he stays active. He runs trails, hikes, swims, keeps his meals clean, and takes care of his body the way someone does when they want to stay sharp for the long haul. And when the mood strikes, you'll still catch him slipping away on his own, riding out across the ranch, disappearing into a quiet corner with a book, or taking his kids outside to explore the woods like he used to. Take everything else out of the picture, and you're left with a man who feels at home with himself, living at a pace that feels right, close to the things that keep him steady. It isn't the life that made him famous, but it's the one that suits him now. Thank you for watching. If this video matches your style, please support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Your support gives us the motivation to create even better videos ahead.